All right, welcome. Day 8. We're going to do a quick review of day 7. We ran into some major blocks yesterday, so we didn't knock off too much, but it was some important stuff. So store the token that we received and the email from the server on local storage. So let's give an example of that. Once again, if we go to our path/register, and let me open up the console. And right now from yesterday, there might still be some local storage here. So actually, let me manually clear this out. So now there's nothing in here. There's no keys and values over here. I can move this over a little if it's hard to see. Okay, so now when I register a new user with an email and a password, I want my server to respond, and then I want to save that in local storage. So let's try max123@yahoo.com, password 123. Click on register, and we see user and the value we have. It's hard to see here. But the value we have here is going to be our token and our email set in local storage. So that was this objective right here. And then the other objective was taking that information that we received from the server and also setting that in a globally available piece of our state known as context. And I'm not sure if we were still setting that up or not. But if we take a look at context.js, this is just the first step of creating the context. And also, I don't think, I got a warning down in my terminal here, React is defined but never used. So I think we can actually delete React. Let me press save. So all we need is create context because we're not coding in JSX, I suppose. And okay, so that's step number 1. And then step number 2 was importing that context. And then step number 3 was wrapping our entire app in this context.provider and passing the value we want. So at this point, if we console.log, I think if we console.log user, I think it's stored there already. Because in our register route, if we go to register, when we registered a user, we also, yeah, exactly right here. We set the user with that context, with that set user context, and we set it with user. So we should be good right now. I mean, now that we refreshed, it won't be, obviously, because every refresh state disappears. It's like temporary memory completely, so it disappears. But if we console.log user and then we do this one more time, and we do max34@lycos.com, password 123, local storage will be overwritten, but then also, we got an error, so let's check that out. Let me switch to my console. So, internal server error. Oh, you know what this is? I bet this is because max34@lycos.com already exists. And yeah, I bet that's why. But let's go back to that in a second. Let me close the loop with this discussion. So let's try max345, click register, And now we're console logging user, and we have our user in that global context state. So that's awesome. But let's go back to this error. When we try to register the same user, we see this weird server error and syntax error. And what we actually want to see is a message that says like this is a duplicate error or something to that effect. So what I think we're going to have to do is make our error handling on Express on our server side a little more robust. So let's do that, because right now we're just relying on Express to do it automatically. But let's actually change that a bit. And to refresh our memory of what's going on, let's open up Postman. Because in Postman, the error is actually displayed nicely. But on my front end React, it's a little more specific. It doesn't accept HTML, it just accepts JSON. So if we go to post users / register, and in our body we have probably this, we'll throw an error because we've already used it. And then we click on send. We're going to see the error that is generated, duplicate key error collection. But we don't have any way of setting up to display HTML on our front end, and we wouldn't want to do that anyway. We just really want the error. So I was just trying to see where this error is located. I think we can extract it though. So I think we pulled up our backend, and if we go to app.js, right now our errors are just being handled by magic through Express. But instead, let's actually handle it ourselves. So the way to do this is we set up a middleware on app.use. So it's basically like this middleware will be hit if no other middleware got to it first and responded. So anything that gets by all our other middlewares, since this one's last, it'll hit regardless of anything else. So in here, we want to use our callback middleware functions. And in addition, we want error. And then the normal request response next. So, but this additional one will be able to, if there was also an error that got passed on, like how we were saying next error in a lot of our code, this is that will refer to that object, that error object. So then here, let's just try to respond with the error and see how that looks when we refresh this backend and then run this code again in Postman. Hopefully we just get a JSON object with the error. But let's see. So I think we got it, but it's not, it doesn't have the message of this username has been used before, which I was hoping it would. Let me see also if there's, I thought there was an error.message that we can use. Let me try to do that. Let me try to do it just error.message. And send this again. And here's what we actually want. So this is nice. duplicate key error collection. That's perfect. So let's use that for now. We might have to tweak it again later, but it's fine. I am confused why when we respond.json error, we should see the property message, but I don't see it here. So it's kind of like it's grabbing it from nowhere. But if it's working, I guess we shouldn't complain too much. So just to show you again, we get this nice error message. And now we want to see that on our front end. So let's switch back to our front end. Sorry. And now when we submit this again, hopefully we see that. Actually, where is the code in the front end that's handling this? Well, let's click register and see what happens. And that's way nicer. We don't get an error. We get an error, but we log it to the console so it doesn't crash our program. And we see that duplicate email key exists. And this is something that we would probably want to set up with like a flash message to the user, that they see a message like this username, this email address already exists. But that's a finishing touch that we're going to do later on, or possibly not at all in this project. So for now, it's enough that we see it in the console or we alert it. But let's check out this actual route. So this is in users. Oops. I tried to open up the, forgot the command to open up the Explorer, but we'll go to it manually. And sorry, this isn't in users. This is in register component. So yeah, right now we're just console.logging this error. We could alert it. That would be fine as well. But yeah, let's actually alert it in case we don't have the console up. That'll be fine. So pretend like we're trying to register. Let me get rid of this. Show bookmark bar. Okay. So yeah, max@yahoo.com I think already exists. 1, 2, 3. We click register. Maybe max@yahoo didn't exist already. Let's click register again. Okay, so maybe we're trying to alert an object so it's not working. Let's open up the console. This is register, right? Yeah. Catch that error. Console.log user. Let me just test. Well, let me JSON.stringify this error, because the alert box can't show objects. It just shows strings. So let's try one more time. And max@yahoo.com. 1, 2, 3. So that's interesting. This block of code isn't actually being activated. Yeah, I don't think this block of code is being activated. But if it's throwing an error, doesn't it have to be? It must be this that's running. Something's a little screwy right there. I'm not sure why this block of code isn't running. I would hope that if an error was thrown in the try, that it would go to the catch block. But I don't see it running there. And if I delete this console.log user, I'm not seeing an alert still. So user validation field, email path, email is required. So that's a good error message, but where is that being generated? We got to hunt down where that's being generated because that's important. So let me just console.log here for this catch. So it's not being generated here, this warning message. So we got to find where it's being generated. Try. Huh. This is weird. So I really think there's an error being generated in this block, but it's somehow logging to the console without me saying anything. All right, let me console.log user one more time. So, yeah, I'm kind of blocked. I don't exactly know what's going on there. I want an error that's produced in this try block to be caught. But it's not being, I don't think. And if we go to our memory or our application, we can see that, so this is not what we want at all. We can see that user is being stored as user validation failed. You know what we can do then? I don't know why this isn't being called in our caught, but we can say what can we say here? If this user is equal to this, user validation failed, we know we're in trouble. Wait, data. Let me console.log. Let me console.log data. There might be a message that says like there was an error or something like that. So I believe this is just a string. Okay, so basically if Okay, so if user dot, let me console.log one more time with the successful user, and then we'll figure this out, how to do some error handling. Max 30. I'm not sure what I've used now. All right, so if it's successful, we get this nice object with token and email. So maybe we can say if user doesn't exist, or user dot token doesn't exist, we'll put the doesn't, or user dot email doesn't exist, token and email, yeah. Then I know I have an error, and then I can just console dot log. What do I want to console.log? And actually I want to return to stop the rest of this. Yeah, because I don't want to set the user, and I don't want to set the user into local storage. So I can console.log error, and then just that user, whatever the response was from this line. I can console.log and stop this function. Else, go ahead and do everything else. Let me try that, see what happens. So here we have a bad request, and we see error, user validation failed. So that's great. That's what we want. And then let's try a good request. Actually, just to prove that that's working correctly, let me go to application and clear out this token that we can see there. Let me clear that out. Okay, and now a bad request, it doesn't have a password. And shoot, we still got, oh, you know what? It might have accepted an empty string as a password, which is something else we might, for validation, we want to correct. Yeah, I think it accepted. I don't think there's a minimum on the password, which is actually something we can tweak in our backend if we switch to there, because we actually do want to prevent that from happening. We just submitted an empty string as a password, and we don't want that to be allowed. So where do we want to go? Do we want to go to models and user? And then here we want a minimum. So I think it's just min. And we can set a minimum of like, well, for now, we'll just do 3. Save that. So now hopefully it'll demand that there's at least 3 characters in our password, and a min of an email will do 5. Save that. Now let's try this again to click register, and we get an error, so that's good. Clear out this memory again. Now to register again, we get error, and we get no storage in local storage, so that's perfect. But also, just a little bit of validation on easy on the front end we can do is on this input box for email, we can say required. Yeah, and we can also make it a little even better and say type equals email. Now, if we try to submit, I don't even think it'll let us. Yeah, it says please include the @ So, and that's just built into HTML. And then on the input for the password, we can do required. So this will make it a little more robust. So we can avoid some of the errors we saw. So now I have no local storage. That's great. I try to register with no username or password. The front end yells at me. And I click register. The password is required, so the front end yells at me again. And I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I click register and we're good. We have an actual nice, well-defined user. We have that stored in local storage, and then also that's being set right here globally in our global state app with context set user. Okay. I still don't like this, how this didn't throw an error and force us into the catch. Maybe it's something specific with data.json, or I'm not sure. But we tested it and now it seems like it's working okay. So in our console, we console.log user and we see this information as well. But now we want to, when a user registers, we want to redirect to the home route, the home component. So right here. But as we manually redirected and press enter, the application refreshed and our user information is gone now from our state. So we want to programmatically redirect. And to do that, we can do a built-in prop available to us. So if we take a look in, let me save this in register.js. In app.js, do you notice how all our components are wrapped in this router? This gives us the ability, no matter what component we're in, to have some props available to us. So I'm going to pass in props to this functional component, and I'm going to console.log them so we can see what they are. And also I'm going to delete this I thought every keystroke I was doing, it was console.logging, but maybe not. So let me save that. And now here we see null, null, null. Wait. Oh, we're in the wrong component. That threw me for a loop. So we're in the home component. I want to go to the register component. And here we see our props were null, and then we have some props available to us. So let's take a look. And actually this is what we want. So this is provided by React Router, history, location, and match. But right now what we want is history and then push. This will enable us to programmatically change our URL and our path. So after set user, we want to do props.history.push, and now we just need to give it the new path that we want to go to. And we just want to go to /. So let's save this and then do jim123@yahoo.com, a new user, 123 password, click register, and all the same functionality happened. It stored it in local storage. It set it in our global context, the user. But now we're back in the home screen and we have a quote unquote signed in user with his token and his email. And just to refresh our memories, here's what the home component is doing. It's destructuring user from our useContext we set up, and then displaying it right here. So that's awesome. That's working. So let's go to our README. Trying to get used to using the shortcut, which isn't working for me. I thought it was window B, but maybe that's wrong. So I'll open it up manually. We'll go to our README. And we ran into some major blocks, but finally we redirected to the home component with the history.push. So now we want to work on our home component a bit. So say the user closed out Chrome and then opened our application again. We want the application to grab the local storage information so they don't have to re-log in. So that's what we're going to set up right now. Because of course, here's the issue. If I press save right now, actually I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get rid of our local storage. Or, oh no, actually, I'm sorry. So when I press save now, it'll delete our context, the information stored in context, but it won't delete local storage. And to show you, I'm going to press Control Save. And, oh, that's interesting. So the home component didn't do re-render. So we do still have, I believe we still have our user, which is cool. But if we shut this down, we definitely would lose it. Or if we just manually refreshed, like up here, we'll lose it, like this. So now it's null. So now the situation, our global state application doesn't know about the user, but the user is still available in local storage right here. So we want to grab that. And the way we do that is in old school React, we use component mount, but in new school React, we use effect. And use effect is basically like, it's from React, and it's basically like, I will run a function when a certain piece of state is changed. Any piece of state you want, when it's changed, like for example, maybe user, if it's changed, I'll go ahead and run you a function. So the first argument is the function you want to run. And the second argument is when you want it to run. But for this use effect, we just actually want it to run just one time when the application is mounted. So when it first starts up. And to indicate that, we just give an empty array. So now what we want to run basically is go ahead and fetch from our base URL. Let me show you in Postman because it makes more. Oh no, you know what? I'm sorry. We're not fetching from our server. We're grabbing the user from local storage. So we can say something like const user equals local storage dot get item, and we just have to give it the key, which is user. And then let me close this tab so we have a little more room. And then let's console.log user to see if that worked. Because right now we're trying to get this information in our local storage. So if we check our console, right here is where it displayed the information we want. So this is great, this local storage. It's not, I thought it was async, but it's not, it's synchronous. So it makes it very easy. But now that we grabbed user, we don't actually want to just console.log user. We want to set user globally. And to do that, we can use set user on user. And let me delete this this console.log user. We don't need it. And let me save this. And it says set user is not defined. So we didn't specifically grab set user from our context so that we can use it. So to do that, we have to destructure it from our context, use context, and then import our custom context, which we already did above. Oh, sorry, I don't know, I need to rewrite this line because this line is right here. Let me move this to the top. And now I just can grab set user. We can grab as many things as we need from the context we created. And these values, just as a reminder, are coming from whatever we passed into provider values. So I'm going to save this. And now, okay, so we have a little bit of work to do because this saved it as a string. When we did set user user, this was actually a string, a JSON string. So we want to JSON.parse this string to convert it back to an object. So let's try that. And now, I believe this is fine. I believe we can use it like this. If it's stored as JSON instead of an object specifically. Let me console.log user and see if that presents us with any problems. So I'm going to return to our console here, save, and that's fine. So we still, it doesn't matter that it's JSON, I guess, versus an object. We still can access any property we want. Like if we wanted the email, this actually might throw an error. Yeah. So when we first run this, user isn't defined. But if I throw in the optional tag, then we're fine. This optional question mark is equivalent to saying like user end user.email. Yeah, it's just a little shortcut. Okay, so now even if we close this app, I believe, shut down our server, React server, our front end server, not our real server, and run npm start again. We still have that signed in user. So it successfully grabbed it from local storage and set it as our global context. So let's save this. That's awesome. Let's go to our README. And home component on mount will get user info from local storage and will set user. Home screen will display logged in user. So we get the X and we get the major X for home component. And now we want to work on /logout. So we want to delete both the user that's stored in our global context, and we want to delete it from local storage when we go to /logout. So let's work on that. App.js, we can set up a route. I'm going to copy this one, and here I'm just going to say /logout, and then component. We need to create a logout component. So I'm going to say logout.js. And I'm not sure what I'm going to need at this point, but I'm pretty sure we're going to need import at least React from React. We'll start there. And then we'll make a functional component. No props right now, but we might change that. And then right now, let's just return a p tag with logout just to see that it's working, and we'll export default logout. We're not actually going to visually see anything on this component, but just to see right now that we're good, one baby step at a time. And then here, type logout, and since we already created it, we get a chance to auto import it. And yeah, when I go to /logout, it shows logout. But what are the things I want to do, right, in this component? I want to local storage dot, maybe we could do clear, but better than that, let's do remove item, because maybe down the line in this app we'll have other items in our local storage than user. So let's just do remove item. And the item we want to remove is user. And again, just to refresh your memories, this is right now our local storage. This information right here, email and token. So then it would actually be nice to redirect to the home component after this, right? But let's do one step at a time. So let me save this. And when we go to /logout, it deleted our local host. So that's step one. But step two is that we want to now clear the user in our global context, because well, it technically might clear anyway. Like when we go to home, I mean, it's going to clear anyway because I'm refreshing it manually, but just to make sure, I want to do set user. I want to do null to make sure there's no logged in our global context state user. So I want to do set user null, but to use set user, I have to grab it from our context. I have to grab set user from useContext, and I want to auto import that, and I want to auto import our context. Now let me save that, and I can run it, but right now we have no logged in user, so it's not going to do anything, but that's fine for now. I know it's working, and we'll test it at the end. And then finally, I want to redirect to home. So here, as we did before in our register component, we can grab props.history.push to the / and go home. So now the signed in user is null and there's no local storage. So let's test out let's test out this route by registering a user. Jim1@lycos.com, password 123. Click register. We have a signed in user. We go to /logout. And it deletes it from local storage. It sets user as null and it redirects us to the home screen. What I actually would like to see though is I want links on the top, my nav bar right here. So I basically want to create a nav bar so I can go to home, log in, and log out. Because I didn't like how I have to manually, obviously, type log out. So that'll be probably the next objective we do. Let me check the README. Yeah, so here I want to actually do a nav bar with /login / for the home component, or I can just say home login log out. Just get the nav bar working with the links, and then we'll work specifically on doing our login screen. But this will be day 9. All right, I'm gonna end the stream there. Thanks for checking it out.